Okay, let's get started. Divya, Ajay, and everyone at Team NSN. First, I wish to begin by thanking our team for all the effort they are putting in for these series of webinars, and I welcome all the participants on Zoom as well as on YouTube Live. So, Divya, let's get started.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Divya, and thank you for joining us. And I welcome you all for the webinar on the role of National Credit Framework, NCrF, in NEP 2020. So, this webinar will present an overview of NCrF and discuss why it plays a crucial role in implementing NEP 2020. And now I would like to introduce our facilitator for today, Dr. Madhuri Dubey, who is the founder and director of National Skills Network, which is a digital platform dedicated to bridging the gap between industry and education. So without any further delay, I would like to introduce our facilitator, Dr. Madhuri Dubey. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, Divya. Thank you, Divya. And once again, good evening, everyone. And it's really nice of you to register for this webinar. It's a learning experience for us also from NSN. Because if you are aware of National Skills Network, I hope you are. Please share in your chat what you know about us. It will be nice to hear from you. So we have been continuously working on these frameworks and the NEP 2020, and we are trying to see how we can be of help to everyone, all the institutions, colleges, schools, etc. in our country who are in the process of implementing it. So it is in the same series that we have been conducting webinars. I hope you have attended the last two webinars where we focused on designing industry integrated courses, skill-based courses, and the previous webinar we looked at NSQF. In case you haven't done it, we have the YouTube live sessions. They are there on our YouTube channel. I would request you to watch them and get back to us if you have any queries or share your experience of using these frameworks with us. That would be amazing learning for us as well. With this note, I would like to get started and let me share my screen. Yeah, I hope you are able to see the screen. Yeah. Yeah, so we have chosen the topic of National Credit Framework. And in case you have implemented a part of it or you're familiar with the credit framework, because this is not totally new in our country, we have choice-based credit system in higher education in many colleges, engineering colleges and UG colleges, and also in institutions like IITs, for example, they do have a credit system. So but the objective of National Credit Framework, as you may be aware, is slightly different. So let us explore. Here our effort is to simplify this framework. I would like to emphasize on simplifying, because if you look at the framework, you might be a little bit overwhelmed with the kind of details, information, the tables, the calculations and all that. So we tried to simplify it, and I hope our effort is useful for everyone. So let's get going. So I'm showing you something here, which I'm sure you have seen. So can you please share the chat window? What are these things? You would have seen these, right? Everywhere. Every student gets these marks memos. So whatever you feel you want to share, any observations, kindly use the chat window. And yeah, these are the mark sheets. One is from the SSC, that is the senior secondary school, and the other one is from an engineering college. So if you see the SSC one, you see that there are marks, there are grades, grade points like the GPA and things like that. And then we tell the student you have passed or failed or whatever is the total the final result. This is how in India, I think 98% of the education means a mark sheet at the end with a grade, pass, fail percentage. And whether you are in the top 10 or top 100, or you're getting placement or you're not getting placement. So you see, this is how it is. Or are you getting a seat in the next level, like from after 10th, it is 11th, 12th, or intermediate. Then if you look at this mark sheet, you will notice that there is a small difference. Here in the fourth column, you see credits. Okay, so this I picked up some random things from the internet. This is somebody's, just shared on the web. I just wanted to show you these examples. So some credits are also assigned here. So you might find mark sheets and memos which have few credits for each year. So this is, as I said, in higher education, in some institutions, already the credit system exists. But let us look at the changing scenario today. When you look at the job market, every enterprise is becoming a digital enterprise. And today we have a lot of new jobs coming, like a lot of new technology influences happening in every sector that we look at, whether it is retail, automotive, telecom, agriculture, IT. I mean, everything is kind of it's like a storm, right? It's like every discipline or every industry is influenced. So which means that the job market is changing, the job roles are changing, the job market, the nature of jobs are also changing. As you know, there's not going to be a very kind of a fully secure and well-paying job for everyone. That's not like a dream also today, because the nature of work is changing, and we also know technology is changing, and taking over many jobs with automation, artificial intelligence. So ultimately, the students who are studying, whether they are in 10th or 12th or a degree or post graduation, I think 90% of them would want to get into some job or the other. Okay, so I'm talking about jobs as in like a widespread or spectrum of jobs, from teaching to non-teaching to, in the manufacturing, in the services, everywhere, the whole job market. And then again, in India, we have this fixation with government jobs and everything. So when such a scenario is, becoming more and more serious, is education really catering to these needs? This is one of the driving questions why NCrF becomes very, very important. Of course, there are many reasons why NCrF is important, but this is one of the reasons. Now, why is it very important? Because today, when you look at the world of work, the job market, and the job roles, we cannot wait for everybody to get through the kind of curriculum or the kind of linear progression, like after 10th, 12th, after 12th, undergraduation, then something else, then something else. And then most of them will remain unemployed. As we know, the youth unemployment in India is quite high. But it's quite high not because we don't have many jobs. It's very high because there is a huge mismatch of jobs, the skills needed, and the qualifications or the kind of certificates and diplomas and degrees these students are getting. So what I'm trying to drive at is, there are many paths and many things that everybody takes. If you imagine education and skill development as a journey, there are so many paths each one of us takes at various time, right? Like somebody is in 12th and then wants to take a break and does something, or somebody is pursuing a PhD, or somebody is doing a post-graduation, or there are people who are going in for engineering. As we know, there is a huge mass of youth. Still, engineering is very aspirational, or they want to do MBA, which is another aspirational degree. So like this, the culmination of this is something that has to show some outcomes, some results. And for us, as I said, I would like to repeat, it mostly shows in jobs, in other words, in placements, or seeking a job on one's own. Or during the last few years, we have also seen the importance of entrepreneurship being promoted among youth. So with this kind of a scenario, we need multiple career pathways, and we also need to have a layer or multiple layers where we promote equity, which means that we are trying to create equal opportunities by bringing people who are at different levels up to a certain level by giving them what they lack. It is not like giving them all just one level of opportunity, but trying to identify who's at which level and balance that gap by giving them that extra learning or that extra whatever is needed, so that we have all these multiple pathways, and each one of these becomes a career pathway no matter what you have done, whether you have done 12th or engineering or higher education like PG or UG or whatever. But mostly, if you look at our education system today, it doesn't lend itself to this kind of treatment. That's why the challenges are multiplying every day. Like, these are some of the challenges, right? We all know about these challenges. Um, if somebody is doing a short-term program like, a skill-based program, or if someone is doing a course, let's say technical course like ITI course, right? Skilling, ITI, all these things are not only least aspirational, but people think that if you do anything vocational or if you do ITI or anything like this, there is no future for you. But we want to break that idea. We want to tell them, hey, look, even if you do ITI, you have a future. You can still go into the higher education. You don't have to feel bad. And there is no reason why only dropouts should go to ITIs. ITI is open to everyone. So we have to create that aspirational value on the other hand. And then with academic learning, what we are doing is we have become a very strong supply side with we are churning out graduates, as we know, lakhs and lakhs of them. But are they all fitting into job roles? No. Right? So there is a huge mismatch. And now the demand side, like the demand driven education or training, is missing. And that's the reason national education policy makes a strong case for mainstreaming vocational education and integrating skills with academic learning. And there's a lot of negative perception about vocational education. And then, as I said, we don't have clear progress pathways. If somebody is doing something, let's say graduation second year, and cannot continue beyond second year, this person has to just drop out and forget about everything. But we need to bring them back into higher education. So it's like we need to bring people who are kind of discontinuing back into higher education and help them complete. And those who have had a reason to take a break and go and join the workforce, but still want to do higher education, get those certificates and degrees, we should give them an opportunity and help them. So these are all the things which are missing. And also there is a lack of uniformity, and we don't have something which is very tangible like learning outcomes, right? We are mostly talking about exams, rote learning. Even in degree or any of these competitive exams students do, everything is more or less rote learning, and then you try to pass, and then marks are the ones only matter, the grades are the ones only matter. But this thought process has to break, because this is not helping us in vertical horizontal mobility properly. Everything, there is a end to that. Like, for example, we always hear about in the news lakhs and lakhs of students appearing for JEE or any of these entrances like NEET or any of these, and you see how many seats are available, and what happens to those who have not been able to clear these exams. So they don't have a clear path or a direction. And lot of learning also happens informally. Is there a certification to that? No. At this point, not much. And international recognition of our qualification and certificates also is not, very evident, because it's just recently that we have embarked on qualifications and thinking of qualification frameworks. And these are in line with various international framework. So these are all the challenges we are facing. Now, let me quickly summarize NEP. This webinar, as you know, is not actually about NEP. We have done a lot of NEP webinars earlier. In case it interests you to, attend few more, you let us know. We can organize more webinars on NEP as such, general NEP, that is NEP 2020. So with the policy, I'm sure you've heard about many aspects, provisions of the policy. And in case you are also implementing it, please share in the chat what your plans are. So what the policy is doing is that, of course, it wants us to, have more GER, that is gross enrollment ratio, and also, see to it that we have these education and skilling, the general education, the academic learning and skilling coming closer. And there are many other aspects of the policy which need a solid implementation framework. In other words, the guiding pillars of the policy, which are listed as access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability, will remain just like a slogan if we are not creating that very strong implementation base. Now that strong implementation base is actually formed with this national credit framework. It is a meta framework, and it really forms the core of implementation of the policy along with other frameworks. As we go ahead, we'll see all of them. Now, the highlights of the policy, as we know, there have been a lot of changes which are suggested, very nice provisions in terms of solving problems like unemployment or employability enhancement, and bridging the skill gaps and bringing the industry into closer partnership with academia. So like that, the policy has really suggested many things, but on top of it all, it is also making a strong case for mainstreaming vocational education, or including integrating vocational or skill-based subject at any level, school level, college level, and that is school, higher education and college level. So the higher educational institutions, the schools, all of them, especially CBSE, they are already embarking on many projects to implement this. So at the school level, there is a change in terms of the 5+3+3+4 structure being, which is replacing the 10+2. And at the school level, there is also a proposal, or rather there is a mandate to introduce one vocational subject, which helps in sensitizing, children with the kind of skills, the professions, and the world of work, and also give them an opportunity to, show their talent, their skills. So these are all some changes which are coming at the school level. And in higher education, whether it is engineering or other UG programs like BA, BCom, BSc, etc., we are talking about holistic development, multidisciplinary courses, and flexibility. So these have become very important because I just listed the challenges. One of the ways to address those challenges is to bring in these elements into our higher education. And also the proposal to have 4-year degree with 1 year of research, and the major and minor subjects which are a part of a choice-based credit system, and introduce the multiple entry, multiple exit, the ME kind of provision, so that students who are not able to continue for all the 3 years of 3 or 4 years of undergraduate program can always come back after a break. So these might sound a bit very innovative, and of course, it is not very easy to implement them, as we are aware, because the ground reality, has a lot of challenges. But at the level of concept, they are excellent, and they mean a lot, and they have a very nice outcome which implemented well will really bring in those results. So I think gradually we will overcome all these hindrances and hurdles to implementing these things, because today I think the goal is employability enhancement, because as you know, the headlines has always been, especially in the recent past, and also one of the important points throughout the election season we saw was youth unemployment, right? So how does this get solved, and what is the link between education and employment? I think this is the first policy among all the policies so far in India which is making a case for bringing education and employment closer. So that's one of the reasons why the credit framework becomes even more important. So in other words, to summarize what the essence of the policy is, like, we have to have a good balance between academic learning and the vocational or the skill-based learning. And that's the reason why both the ministries are working closer, as you know. And there are many frameworks which have been, launched by UGC and NCVT very recently. And all of them are supporting frameworks for policy implementation. And some of the important bodies, as I just said, the organizations, the regulatory organizations which have played a very important role are these, that is UGC, CBSE, NCVT, AICT, DGT, and NIOS. And besides these, there are many more, but I just listed these. So when they all came together and prepared this credit framework, it is like a very big, humongous joint exercise which has been done by all these regulatory bodies. So when you visualize the credit framework, it is one of the frameworks to implement NEP 2020, but it is the most important framework along with NSQF and NHEQF. So NHEQF is the National Higher Education Qualifications Framework, and NSQF is National Skills Qualification Framework. And this is the credit framework. And there are other frameworks like Curriculum and Credit Framework for undergraduate programs and National Curriculum Framework for schools, which is called NCrF. So all these put together create the enabling environment for implementing the policy provisions, the recommendations. And as we know, whatever has been recommended in the policy is not like a rule or a regulation that it has to be done in that particular way. It is just a policy suggestion. It's a provision. It is left to the state government. It is left to the autonomous college or the university to take it forward and implement it in a very localized manner. In fact, the policy makes a case for a very localized education which caters to the needs of a region or a place. Like, say, for example, you're looking at a state which has probably 40% tribal population. Now, today, what is happening is whether the population is 50% tribal or 40% tribal, even if they are not able to relate to most of the things which are being, which are being told to them through these various educational programs like school or college, there could be many. There is a tension usually between this kind of learning and education where this particular community or a tribe cannot relate to it because it's not helping them. And if you look at these scenarios, which are so many of them in our country, there is a huge dropout. So the kind of learning, if it is not catering to the regional needs, it's not giving us anything back. So the credit framework and other frameworks that we saw, the skills framework, all these are aimed at promoting that kind of learning. So the National Credit Framework provides for assignment, accumulation, storage, transfer, and redemption of credits in alignment with NHEQF, National Curriculum Framework, then National Schools Education Qualification Framework. This is still not available, and National Skills Qualification Framework. So this is what it does. It is taking care of all these. In alignment with these, you have the credit framework. So the credit framework, have you all seen? Has anyone seen the document? Can you let me know in the chat? Have you accessed this document? Have you gone through it, read it? Did you use it anytime? Yes, no? So the framework is an enabling framework. It is also known as a meta framework. It is more like mostly it is described as an umbrella framework because it is kind of taking care of everything and anything that is available to the students today. Offered under the regulation of all these bodies and organizations under both the ministries, that is skill development and Ministry of Education. So, so what the framework is proposing basically is that no matter whichever way you learn, you pick up your skills or academic knowledge, it could be any way. It could be formal, it could be through a school kind of a system or college, or it could be distance learning or online learning or blended learning. See, there are many ways to learn today, right? We know. In fact, the informal learning happens so much through channels like YouTube or social media or any other things. So there are so many channels to learn, but what happens is generally we look at only the formal institutions, the highly institutionalized and regulated schooling certificate or the college degree as the most recognized ones. And anything that is happening outside is not really, taken care of. And as I was mentioning earlier, the only proof of going through this rigorous academic schedule or the program or whatever we want to call it for years together is the certificate, is the marks memo, is the degree. And that just remains as a degree which is saying, okay, I have done XYZ subjects, I have scored so much. But in terms of my competencies, in terms of what outcomes are coming out from that learning, there is nothing to show, right? So there is a gap between the kind of marks I get or the kind of recognition I get through marks and what is it that I've actually picked up from the course. What is the learning outcome? What is the not only the learning outcome, but is there some competency which I have developed, like some skills along with knowledge, or are there some abilities that I have picked up? If you look back today, in most of the courses, that is not happening. So the credit framework works through notional learning hours. So that's what I told you. We spend hours and hours of learning, like every school, every day. Let us say 6 hours into 6 days, 36 hours in a week. And then what happens? It goes on for months. It goes on for months together. Then maybe they have 200 working days. So you multiply these 36, into 200. So many learning hours. What is the outcome? So when we question that, then comes the credit idea, and it becomes a very important concept for us to implement. So the way the credit framework operates is that when we have to assign one credit to a student at any level, at a school level or college level, it is always 30 hours of learning. Okay, so what is the credit framework doing? It is also showing us that there is a connectivity between school and college. There is a connection. Okay, these two are connected. Unlike now, where we feel that, okay, after 10th, 12th, then, the college system is something totally different. But here we are trying to see it as a continuum. So this credit formula, which you have, one credit is equal to 30 hours of learning, and then every year the student has to accumulate up to 1200 credit hours depending on the level at the school level. That is the student at the school level, the preparatory school level or primary school level, or the high school level or the higher education. This keeps changing. So let us go deeper into it and understand. Now, what does the credit framework actually do? So credit, as we just understood, it's a recognition of completion of a course which is mapped with a qualification level. And qualification level is not actually the same as writing an exam or an assessment and getting the marks memo or the marks. Qualification levels are quite different. Qualification levels can be aligned with the kind of marks the students get, or the credits can be derived out of the marks the students get. But qualification is quite different because it is more mapped with the competencies. And there are three types of credits the students can get, or anybody can get. For example, one is from the academic sources, second is vocational, and third is the experiential learning. And then NCrF actually acts as a enabling system, as I just showed you. So it is actually operating as a meta framework to operationalize the policy. And it talks about seamless integration of credits earned through school and higher education. This is something I just mentioned, that it is seen as a continuation. And to develop a seamless vertical and horizontal mobility. The credit framework also plays a very important role here by giving, as we saw in the beginning, it creates those pathways and helps students to go up vertically or to move horizontally based on acquiring or accumulating, earning and accumulating credits. So these are some of the important points how NCrF, that is the credit framework, is expected to help in terms of bringing in equivalence. Okay, the equivalence is mainly in these areas. Please pay attention to this. One of the most important ones, which the policy is also talking about, is that there should not be any hard separation, or there should not be any kind of a discrimination between streams of education, whether you learn from the academic kind of courses or skill-based. So in other words, to give you an example, if somebody is doing an ITI, or if somebody is doing an engineering program, or if somebody is doing some other course like a UG program, everybody is on the same level. There is no hard separation between these streams. Nor is there any separation between somebody is doing a commerce course or a science or any other hospitality or home science, or you name it, any of them. We are trying to keep them all on the same level. That is where the credit framework plays an important role. And also, like I said, the mobility between these two streams, like general to vocational and vocational to general, and also the multiple entry exit options, which the policy talks about. And then helping people to come back into higher education, or those who have already got work experience, recognize that work experience and assign credits. And also it helps in terms of creating a message that lifelong learning is the most important thing right now. So to summarize, what it is doing is that it is national credit framework helps us in creditization of all types of learning by assigning, accumulating, storing and transferring and redemption of credits. Are you aware, any one of you can please respond in the chat. Are you aware of how these credits are being accumulated, and how they will be redeemed? What is the means for that? And removing the distinction between academic, removing the distinction and establishing academic equivalence between vocational and general, and enabling mobility. This is what it is, the academic bank of credits. Sorry. So the means to accumulate credit, we have, like any bank, this is also a bank where the students can deposit their credits, whatever they earn, and they can redeem it whenever they need. So the credits can be earned through various means, like I showed you, various ways of learning, and then all of them can be in the academic bank of credits. So any idea how this is implemented in India right now? Is anyone sharing any responses? And this is just an enabling framework. It should not be seen as a regulation. So it is not forcing somebody to follow this or that in a certain way. But since it's an enabling framework, there is flexibility to look at the ways in which the credits can be assigned. There is always a flexibility to mix and match the kind of courses university or the college wants to offer the school. So at that level, at the curriculum level and at the assessment level, there is a lot of flexibility always available. So the definition of a credit is that it's a recognition. It's a recognition that the learner has completed a course of learning corresponding to a qualification. The word qualification is a very important word when we are looking at the credit framework. So it is not just the marks or the marks memo, but the qualification. And one credit corresponds to 30 notional hours of learning in a year of 2 semesters. So in a year, if the student has to accumulate, 40 credits, then how does it work? So it works like 40 into 30 is equal to 1,200 hours. So let us look at the details now. I'll show you the table, which is very important for us to look at when we have to look at the credit framework. And the concept of credit level also is something we need to see. The credit levels start from 1 to 8, but below 1, we have the pre-primary and all those school levels. From 1, which is the first class, up to 8 level, up to level 8. You have various, the levels are classified like this. So the credit levels for this for the school, that is up to 12th class, it would be level 4. And then from 4.5 onwards, it goes to the college, that is the undergraduate level. And these 4 levels are corresponding to the 4 years of undergraduate courses. And here again, for the postgraduate level, you have these levels where PhD is the highest level. And in a parallel way, corresponding to this 8 levels, we also have the vocational education and training levels, which are under the NSQF, and these are also levels 1 to 8. Now, let me show you this important image, the diagram, which represents how the credit framework has been designed. It is known as a three-dimensional framework. Why is it three-dimensional? It is three-dimensional because you can see 3 axes here: the skill axis, the experiential learning axis, experiential learning or the proficiency axis, and then we have the academic axis, right? Academic axis is something we are very familiar, all of us, because we have all come up in our lives by doing these kind of courses, which are purely academic, mostly academic. But during the last 5 or 6 years, we have also had courses like BVOC, which is at the degree level, right? A Bachelor of Vocational Education, vocational subjects. So where you have a BVOC, it means it's a higher education skill subject. It is not just a normal degree, but it has a skill orientation. Whereas here you look at it, why these 3 axes are given and how they work is, let me just show you. So let's look at the academic axis first. If you look at the academic axis, it is pretty simple. You have the pre-primary, then upper primary, then again the high school and higher secondary, then UG, 4 years, PG, and then PhD. Very simple. We all know it is a very linear kind of a progression here. Correct? And all these are assigned to the levels. So up to 5, it is level 1. Then up to 8, it becomes level 2. These are the credit levels. Then comes 9th class is 2.5 and 10th is 3 and 11th is 3.5, 12th is 4. That's why the school level credit levels at the school end at level 4. And then comes in the academic framework, UG1, UG2, 3, you have 4.5, 5, 5.5 and 6. That is up to UG4 or PG1. Like, why UG4, PG1? Because there is a provision for offering a 4-year degree program. And if somebody is doing a 4-year degree program, then PG will be just 1 year. So UG4, PG1 is it also corresponds to all the engineering education, which has a 4-year program. So all these come to 6, and then 6.5 and 7 and 8. These are all, the highest levels, that is up to PhD. And then 10 plus 3 diploma and 12 plus 3 years diploma, they are also put up somewhere around these levels. They are also a kind of balance with this, and there is a way to make it equivalent with these kind of levels, the credit levels that we see in the academics. Now on the skills axis, what do you see? On the skills axis, you see again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up to 8, right? And here also what we do is when you look at the skills axis here, the examples are given from 8th pass plus 2 years of ITI plus NIOS is equal to 10th. What we are doing here is, if somebody has passed 8th class and done 2 years of ITI and has done one course from NIOS, which is like a language course, then that becomes equal to 10th, which means this student will have a level 3. 10th class is level 3. Right? And similarly, then somebody does 10th class and then ITI and then NIOS. This ITI student can be brought to level 4, which is class 12. Whereas in the absence of this framework, what is happening is all these technical courses, the ITI type of courses or other polytechnic diplomas and all, people are not able to see value, and they're, at least in polytechnic diploma, they know that there is a lateral entry into the engineering kind of courses. But then for ITI guys, there isn't anything much happening. So with this framework, there is a lot of scope and hope for all of them. And then comes the experiential learning axis. So experiential learning also, there is going to be a credit assignment for this. And for experiential learning, one of the ways is, to certify people who have not really got formally trained. Let me give you an example. Like you see, the proficiency axis talks about trained, proficient, master, expert, and master. Right here you have trained, proficient, expert, and master. So these levels are trying to assess and qualify and certify people who have accumulated, learned they have lot of skills, knowledge, etc. on their own. So the example could be a lot of these people who learn on their own. There could be artisans, there could be people who have learned to do things on their own. It can be a craftsperson, or it could be someone who's probably learned a lot about how to run a restaurant and knows to do good cooking and has started a restaurant, but then doesn't have any formal qualifications, right? So for all such people, there is a provision that they can also be given a certification. So yeah, this is what the experiential learning thing is about. So now you see all the three axes. What we are trying to do is we are trying to bring them all together and make it a very comprehensive umbrella kind of a framework where we take care of no matter whichever way you are learning, you are eligible to get the credits. Now, one important point about the competency framework, which is actually leading to qualifications, is that normally in the competency framework, it is not just the testing of knowledge through rote learning, which is the main problem why we need credit framework and the skills qualification framework, because the outcome of rote learning is nothing, right? Because that's what is actually adding to the problems of education and employment connection in India. So to break that kind of a rigid system, we need all these competency frameworks where we are assigning importance to not only the acquisition of knowledge, but also skills, practical skills, and also the aptitude to do a certain job or a task as per the expected levels. So if you look at the skills framework, the national skills framework, what we just saw here in this slide, here you have this skills framework, right? Level 1 to 8. It is nothing but the NSQF. If you are familiar with NSQF, you would have known that earlier NSQF had levels 1 to 10, and now it has levels 1 to 8. And this change has happened because it had to be brought in consonance, or it had to be aligned with the credit framework. So these are the levels, the competency levels. Students can enter at any level, and they have a progression path from these levels. And these levels have something known as level descriptors. So any course, any curriculum which is skill-based has to take care of these level descriptors. Basically, these level descriptors tell you about the kind of job roles, okay? Like, for example, at level 3, you have a certain job role description. Like we call them a qualification pack and a national occupation standard. Since I have already done a webinar on this, called Designing Industry Integrated Courses. If you want more information, kindly watch that video. It's available, or we can share the link with you. to that webinar. Divya, it would be nice if you can share the link in the chat, both the previous webinars. That will
Yes,
give
ma'am.
you a lot of detail on this. So the qualification framework is actually talking about these job roles at different levels and how through these level descriptors, you are able to create the curriculum and meet the requirements at these levels. Okay, so now basically what we saw till now is that we can assign credits to all types of learning. Mostly in the school and college level, today we have a very linear system. That's the reason we have this culture of dropouts, right? If we had a slightly non-linear system, I don't think we would have labeled people as dropouts and low achievers and all. It would have been more accommodative and more tolerant and more inclusive. Now with credit framework, all that is going to become a reality. So the school system follows a linear this thing and linear system, and the only evidence of the student success is like meeting the requirements, which is usually through assessments, exams, and any other form of awarding marks and grades. And credits are needed to accommodate all types of schooling, informal learning. Like at the school level, you have many children, probably those probably who are not fit enough to go to school. Maybe they have certain issues. So the people with disabilities or those who are doing homeschooling, how are we accommodating them? Today, it's not very easy, but with the credit framework, it could be very, it would be possible to accommodate all this. And choice-based credit system and somewhere is a skills assessment framework, from AICTE. So these are already existing. These were existing even before NCrF came into the picture. So, but then there were some shortcomings with these frameworks. So that's the reason now NCrF subsumes these, and also it adds on to these two frameworks and gives more opportunities for students to acquire credits through various forms of learning. It could be not just the formal classroom based or online or blended learning, but also various activities like participating in projects, volunteering, going to competitions, hackathons, doing something, on their own initiatives, also performing arts and all, like people who are, let's say somebody is a dancer or a singer, or somebody is very talented, they have certain ways to show their talent. No, we are not recognizing them, and sports people, and similarly, one whole list is available. All such people also can be assigned credits according to this framework. So basically, the credit framework assigns credits to academic learning, skill-based learning, and experiential learning. And we just saw that in skill-based learning, there is a way to accumulate credit through the NSQF, what we saw just now, and it will also enable vertical and horizontal mobility. And for experiential learning also, there are ways to assign credits. Experiential learning could be in many ways. It could also be at the school level, where the students are doing a small internship or going to the industry, doing some project, or it could be at the college level, or it could also be through employment. Like I told you already, if people are already employed and they are accumulating skills and knowledge as a part of their work, and if they feel that that can be assessed and certified, they can always go through an assessment and get themselves those credits. And also importantly, the recognition of prior learning for those who learn in informal ways. So these are the three ways. So how are the credits calculated? Let us remember one very, very important aspect of credit framework. We are going on talking about credits, assigning credits, accumulating credits, but it is not just on the basis of some vague kind of idea. It is a very serious thing based 100% on assessments. Now, these assessments are again, they are very specific to a skill, a trade, a domain of knowledge, or it could be specific to an area where you want to assess and certify someone. Now, if you ask me, do we have so many assessments? No, we may not have so many of them. But as far as I know, CBSE is working on various assessment formats. And how do we assess so many people, the number, the volumes, by giving them physical exams? That's not possible, right? So there is a huge role to play here for digital assessments. Okay, so if you look at the CBSE website, they are already working on few samples. And also the NCrF document, which I will show you now, that also talks about many types of assessment towards the end of the document. Now, how are the credits calculated? I already told you how it is calculated. For example, a 12th pass student earning 40 credits at NCrF level 4 will earn a total 160 credit points. This is how you arrive at 160. 40 credits into the NCrF level 4 is equal to 160. Okay, so this is the number, this is the formula for credit points, for calculating the credit points. And a student who's completing NSQF level 4, because NSQF level 4 hours could be different, things may not be exactly the same way as it is happening in the academic education. So in the skill education, maybe there are some difference. So if the NSQF level 4 student is completing 450 hours of learning, then earns 15 credits, and these credit points earned by the student after completion. And finally, this student earns a credit of 60 points because he or she is at level 4. So it is 15 credits into 4. So then it becomes 60 credits, 60 credit points, right? So like this, there are many ways, many levels at which these can be calculated. So this is the main, I would say, the crux of the entire framework. If you are able to follow this table, then I think everything is given in this table. So I will have to spend some time on this table. So please focus on this. And in case you have already seen this table or done something with it, do let me know. It will be nice to know how you used it, or how you have kind of, what you have understood, or how you have used it, or how you feel it is going to be useful. So you can see here in this table, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns. The first is the academic band hours of learning per year. The second one is the academic grade levels, school education and higher education. The third one is the vocational education, the skills and vocational education, where you have LTT and STT. LTT is long-term training, STT is short-term training. So for long term, you will have like ITIs and all. Short term could be skill-based short term courses, which are for 6 months and, like starting from 6 months onwards. Then we have the credit levels in the fourth column, credits earned in the fifth column, credit points earned in the sixth column, and the seventh column is the assessment stage or equivalence. So this is, as I said, assessment is the most crucial aspect of the credit framework. Without standardized assessments, without reliable and credible assessment system, this credit framework will not be operationalized. Not only for that, it is also it has to take care of the quality, it has to take care of many other aspects of how a student can be assigned this level of credits. The assessment really has to be that rigorous so that the student is able to get through that assessment and get those marks and then convert them into credits. So you see here, let me show you from the bottom. You have this foundational preparatory school, right? 5 years plus 3 years, 8 years. So here you have, for the foundational, you have 800 hours per year. Okay. Now, how did we come at 27? If you ask me, 800 hours divided by 30, it's rounded off to 27. So all these years, the kids will get 27 credits. And the levels assigned are 0.1, 0.2, 0.4, etc., 0.2468. And these levels have been assigned by the authorities who have created the framework. And there is no explanation, etc., provided for these levels. Then comes the class 5, which is level 1. Class 5 is level 1. And here it becomes NSQF level 1 also. See, below this, there is no NSQF level. Obviously, these NSQF is all skill-based, right? So here at class 5, you have level 1, and the number of credits earned is 33. It is 33 because the number of hours per year is 1000. So 1000 divided by 30 is 33. Again, rounded off. Okay, then comes the middle school where you have class 6, 7, and 8. Now, class 8 is level 2 for NSQF as well as for academic learning. And you see in the parallel, the next column, you are able to see the credit points earned. So every time, for example, if you look at, let me show you class 8. Class 8 is level 2. Credit points earned is 40. Why 40? It is 40 because 1200 hours of learning per year divided by 30 is equal to 40. Now 80 is the credit points earned. Why 80? 80, how do we get? We'll get 80 by 40 multiplied by 2 is 80. In other words, the credits earned per year multiplied by the credit level is equal to the credit points earned. This is the formula which is applied all through at every level. If you want me to show you one more example, let me take the example of 4.5, which is UG first year, undergraduate first year 4.5. Now again, 4.5 is the credit level. Now the number of hours of learning, the notional hours of learning for this year is 1200. So 1200 divided by 30. Why 30? Because as we saw earlier, 30 hours is equal to 1 credit, right? So 1200 divided by 30 is equal to 40. So the students will get 40 credits per year. But how many credit points will they get per year? Their credit points will be 40 multiplied by 4.5. That is equal to 180. Okay. So this is how the credit framework works. Okay, so the assessment and the equivalence is the most important aspect of the credit framework. I'll also give you another example here. See, with the credit framework, we are talking about multiple entry, exit, flexible learning, and then also course correction. Course correction, for example, let us say there are students, there could be many students who will join engineering, and they will do up to second year. And after that, they change their mind. They say that, okay, engineering is not what I want to do in my life. Now, if this engineering student wants to go and join, let us say, hospitality, some course in hospitality, or wants to join some course in robotics, or, if these things have to be done, then the assessment band, everything has to match. Okay, it is not like somebody from non-science subject can go and join a science program. No, it is not like that. There is a logic, there is a serious logic behind it. All these things are possible if you have that much of knowledge. A non-science subject may be able to join something into sciences, provided this non-science subject has earned all those, the subjects under the sciences on his or her own, probably, going through online courses or doing some other course. There could be ways to learn all this, right? But it is essential that it cannot be somebody who's from humanities will jump into science and somebody from here and there. No, it won't work like that. So let us be clear that the basic skill or the basic knowledge or the subject mastery is much essential. What is the difference? The difference here is that it doesn't matter from which source you have kind of gathered or acquired that knowledge or that skill. The source really doesn't matter. What matters is the student qualifying, the student appearing for the assessment and getting those credits. Okay, so that is how it works. And like you saw these credit points, I just wanted to summarize how these credit points are earned up to 320 points. But one observation I wanted to make, for example, the way the doctoral degree is defined here, I don't think it is correct, because It cannot be assigned, a doctoral student cannot be, a research scholar cannot be given 40 credits, and it's not a 1-year program or anything, and it cannot be, decided like that, because we all know the story of PhD or research at the doctoral level is very different. So probably this may be something which stands out, and maybe it has to be thought over again. So here I just showed you this. So once again, I'll reiterate, because this is very important. It's the main takeaway, I would say, to understand the credit framework. This is how all the credits are earned in the higher education level. Like there are ways to earn it also. Like I told you, it is not always the degree or the typical engineering. It could be through short term, it could be through apprenticeships, it could be through CITS, that's craftsman training, many ways, many ways. But what matters is this, what I have highlighted in red. These are the credit levels and the credits earned and the points earned. If you have any clarification, please share your queries. And the same thing for the school level, what we just saw, I'm trying to summarize how we how we came at the calculations, because when you come to this table, you might be a little bit overwhelmed looking at the way it is presented. But to simplify it, this is the way to understand the credits, the credit levels, and the credit points. Now, what are the benefits for the students? If you ask me, I would say, yeah, for the students, especially in today's world, where we are looking at a very different student profile, what we call as the Gen Z, or the students who are, quite different and exposed to a very different kind of a learning culture with digital technologies, mobile devices. Even in rural India, you see many students have access to some form of a mobile device and things. So see, the exposure is different. The kind of learning that happens is different. Their attention spans are going down, actually. So with the kind of life we live, so the profile of students today in future, maybe, the credit framework will be a very important thing for them. Probably there'll be more students who might not want to continue with the kind of system we have. Maybe gradually the system has to change. So what happens then, if they're assigned, given these credits, they'll be very happy. Okay, yeah, I've got these credits, they are in my bank. It's like, I have so much of cash in my bank. I'm so, I'm quite relaxed. It's not gone wasted. My effort is not gone wasted. So probably uh, crediting all types of creditizing all types of learning and storing credit would be the way to go. That's why the framework is called as a game changer if it is implemented well. And there is a need for multidisciplinary, holistic, flexible education, especially in the engineering curriculum, because we see that today, most of the engineering colleges are very rigid in terms of their curriculum, which is like they have mostly subjects specific to the engineering field or technology field, or even BTech courses are very, specific to what they are specializing in. But there is a very big need today to introduce subjects like humanities, introduce subjects which enhance the students' creative abilities or critical thinking, anything that could be a hobby for a student. So there should be a little bit of that holism built into this, and a little bit of flexibility is needed. So for these reasons, the students will be benefiting from this. And of course, overall, an enhanced employability is definitely something that will help in the long run. The multiple entry, multiple exit, lifelong learning, all these concepts are being promoted now, because they are definitely going to enhance our cognitive faculty. And there is going to be a parity between various educational streams. So students from ITI or students from Polytechnic need not feel that they are inferior to others, right? Why only them? Even students who have done subjects like home sciences or humanities, or things which are so-called, not meant for those high achievers type of subjects, they should also take pride that they have the same credits. Vertical and horizontal mobility is good for them, and integration of education, skilling, and work is also good for them. Now, what is the benefit for the institutions? Um, when you look at the institutions, schools, colleges, etc., they'll get a chance to collaborate. And also there is a reason for them to collaborate, not just for the existing subjects, but if they want to offer multidisciplinary subjects, it is inevitable that these institutions will have to collaborate, because they cannot have one teacher to teach, let us say, music, right? If somebody wants to take music or somebody wants to take photography, the student, the institution or the college, or they can always collaborate with some other college where these subjects are being offered. They don't have to hire teachers for every subject that the student wants, right? And there are also other reasons to collaborate. And rich and diversified knowledge base for the students, they'll be able to provide this. And there'll be a simple and uniform credit system, unlike what we have now, like see choice-based credit system and others. And then focus on research and innovation is possible. And there is also promotion of blended learning and micro credentialing, which is like assigning micro credits to small courses which the students do. Let us say they might do a 2 hour plus, like 4 hour program or 5 hour program, and they'll accumulate all these together, and that can probably become one microcredit. So there are many advantages to the institution, and the advantages or the benefits to the industry. As I started in the beginning saying, putting more emphasis on the job market and the industry, I would like to reiterate that. See, today the main program is not, as I said, I would like to again re-emphasize, it's not that there are no jobs or absolutely no jobs, or it's not that kind of a scenario. What we are seeing is the highly educated students are remaining unemployed, or they are becoming underemployed. Like we know, engineering students taking up maybe gig jobs, like a delivery boy or maybe something else, or doing some very small type of jobs. So it's a total mismatch. So these are all some problems which is also affecting the industry. In other words, industry, they want people with proper skills, as we all know, and they want somebody who kind of don't come with those skill gaps. And for this, the credit framework could be one of the ways. And since it's also promoting internships, apprenticeships with credits, there is also scope that there will be more and more of promotion of this and adoption of this. And upskilling and reskilling is also possible with the credit framework. Then NSQF approved skills. Why NSQF approved skills are important is because when you look at the NSQF curriculum, any of the qualification packs and national occupation standards, all these are mostly created by sector skill councils or awarding bodies certified, accredited by NCVT, which means that they already have a industry orientation and industry approval to most of the courses and the curriculum and things that they are designing. So it makes more sense. Then future skills, bridging the skill gap, etc. And also for them, for the industry, there will be meaningful participation in education, because when skills and academic learning has to be integrated, the industry will have to play a very important and a big role. So with this, I would like to close this, but now I'll just show you some important resources which are connected with this. So please pay attention. And also if, 1 second. Yeah, I hope you're able to see my screen. Yeah, this is the document, the National Credit Framework. Okay, it's a 106-page document. It's, you can just look at the TOC here and go to the relevant parts and then try to understand. I'll just show you the TOC because in the scope of the webinar, we don't have so much time to go into the details. Like I said, towards the end, you have types of assessments, multiple entry exit options. All these are well thought out and presented in the document. And there are many more aspects of what I just, so this webinar was more like a simplified overview of this entire framework. Then comes, okay, so this is the credit framework. I'm just scrolling past quite, through this. And then, well, you'll see all those tables and all from here. And then there is, I would like to again request all of you to explore this document, because I know most of you are representing higher educational institutions. There is a push from UGC to introduce short-term skill courses in higher education institutions. And this is the kind of guidelines which they have shared recently. So please take a look at this. This document gives you a lot of information about what kind of courses, what will make sense, how you can do it, what are the ways to implement, all of it. It's got really useful details, and it may be a very good document. And it is also, you can see, aligned with NCrF, the National Credit Framework. Okay, so this is one document. And the other one, I was asking you the question, the answer for that question about Academic Bank of Credit is the APAR ID. I hope you have heard about this, and your students are also already enrolling for this. So APAR ID is like one common ID for students where they can store all the credits, and they can create an account here by coming to the Academic Bank of Credit. So this is the website for that. Okay, so this is the APAR ID website. Then what else do I show you? Yeah, it gives you the number of students who have already registered. It is 29.94 crores of students, etc. All this is given here. Then comes, yeah, let me show you this. This is Somewhere. Somewhere stands for Skill Assessment Matrix for Vocational Advancement of Youth. This is not a very recent document, but since it is one of its kind, I think it is 2018 is what it is showing. You can just refer to it. It is giving you information on skills at assessment matrix. So I think you should look at this and the NSQF together. Okay, the NSQF document. Now comes the most important portal, which is important for anything to do with skill development. And this is the hub, like, okay, National Qualification Register, where you can see all the qualifications, all the QP NOS, that is the qualification packs and national occupation standards under many industry sectors like these. In case you have attended the past webinars, I've already shown this in great detail, so please take a look. Even otherwise, you can always come to this website. This is National Qualification Register from NCVET, and you can go through this and look at various courses that are given here. These are the credit hours. I mean, the number of hours, the credit levels. Like, see, for the skill subjects, all these qualifications or the job description or the course name, everything is aligned with a certain job role. That is why it is skill focused. And as we saw the skill matrix, just to give you an example, all these things which the students will learn here, they are called the National Occupation Standards. And with all these National Occupation Standards, they will not only get credits which are not listed here, of course, but the levels you can see are clearly mentioned. All these are at level 6, NSQF level 6, which is again NCrF level 6. Both the levels are same. But for some of them, you will also see credits being assigned. And one thing about all these courses which are mentioned here, the qualifications that are mentioned, that are given here, they are updated very frequently, because why they are updated is mainly because anything to do with skills and industry is so dynamic, right? You can't be teaching something like a combustion engine when you have electric engine also as equally important. So old technologies and things, they have to be rationalized and modernized and updated. So most of these programs, I mean, most of the qualifications here, you might find them very up to date, like say 5G, for example, right? So I'm just showing you the telecom one randomly, but you can take a look at any others. And another website, which I'm sure you all know, is NCVET. I hope you had already seen the website. NCVET gives you, again, a lot of information about accrediting courses, how to become an awarding body, and various other things. And then, of course, you can go to UGC website and see what are the updates. But for me, the most important is this, the NCrF document itself. As you can see here, a lot of details are given, which I tried to simplify and summarize. Uh, yeah, so this is what it is. Let me know if you have any questions, queries. We still have few minutes. I'd be very happy to answer them. And also let me know how you found this session, and do share your feedback, please. We'll share a feedback form that will help us learn also and improve ourselves for the next session. Yeah. So any questions, queries? Yeah, this is the thing. And this is, here you have this TOC. Yes, Mr. Vishwanath, glad you found this useful. And also Mr. Pranab, Mr. Ramesh, thank you for sharing the feedback. But do tell us more. Was there anything which should have been better, or how you're going to use this information? Because this is still very new, right? Not many people are familiar with the credit framework. Yes, Mr. Vishwanath, you can write to us. Divya, can you please share the contact email ID? Please write to us. We can always interact and let us know what you would want to learn. And please share the feedback in the form. There is one more thing I will just show you, NCVT. Yeah, if you come here also, this is one website which you should visit, frequently, especially if you are going to introduce skill-based courses and all that, So you get a lot of information here, of course, from the resources. Like you get this entire NSQF related. This is one thing which I wanted to show you. Yeah, this is an important document about NSQF. So please read this as well. Yeah, this PPT is available. This is actually a YouTube live session. So the entire session is available on YouTube. So kindly share the link. If anybody else is going to benefit from this, it would be nice if you can share our YouTube link. Maybe Divya, you can share the YouTube live link also in the chat. Yeah, this is the NSQF document, the latest. It tells you about the framework and a lot of very valuable information about how the framework operates with NCrF. Now you see the NCrF has been brought into this document also. Okay, Academic Bank of Credit. So whatever we saw in NCrF, now in NSQF, also you will see part of it, because these are all interlinked. See, what is good about these frameworks is that we are trying to somewhere establish a very common, comprehensive framework where it is going to benefit the students and the industry in a very big way. So when it is benefiting the students, automatically it is benefiting the teachers and the institutions. And when it is benefiting the industry, it has a very positive impact on job creation and on jobs, on employment. So it is going to benefit everyone in many ways. Yes, Mr. Vishwanath, it's good to hear that you're working at the cluster level. Do share the information. You can mail it to us. And YouTube live link, Divya, can you share it here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's it from me. I would like to close this now in case there aren't any queries. Is there anything on YouTube? Can you please check, Divya? We have shared the contact email ID, contact@nationalskillsnetwork.com. And the YouTube live link is also shared here. So thank you so much, all of you, whoever's watching on YouTube and all of you who registered. I'm glad you found it useful. And in case there are any suggestions, please let us know. And we'll be happy if you need more help or anything you want to discuss further with us, or you want to recommend our webinars to your colleagues and other institutions. We'll be very happy to continue with this. We are anyways going to continue, so you can spread the word. That would be very helpful to us. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Good